long hitter, not able to take advantage of the par fives, maybe as much as she would like over the course of the past couple of days. But we'll remind you once again, coming your way tomorrow, our final round coverage. Me and Kim at the moment. 4-shot advantage. So for Alice Ritzman and Bill Kratzer and Mary Bryan, I'm Roger Twyble. Thanks so much for being with us. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Sports Center coming your way at 6 Eastern. Get you caught up on how this third round concluded. For all of us here, thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
But at the time, it wasn't, it so wasn't about a larger cause as much as it was about playing volleyball.
Can I play?
I remember one day I was walking on the street and someone said to me, "Go back to Asia." And I was with my father, actually, and he said, "Would you care to repeat that?" In probably some little way, I saw my dad stand up to someone else, and I said, "Hey, I can stand up for any kind of discrimination that I also experience in the future."
Pretty much all my life, I had been doing things that people had supported and thought were appropriate. However, there comes a time when you do need to take an unpopular stand if you believe that some injustice is being done.
In some ways, I've always been an activist, but I've never been someone to bring a lawsuit. I think that is not something I wanted to do. It's not something I like to say, oh, I sued my university. No, that's not something that I'm really proud of. But I think standing up for what I believe is right is something that I've always done.
In 1992, women students sued Brown University for gender discrimination under a law called Title IX. Ironically, in Cohen versus Brown, the pivotal test of this federal law came at a university known as a leader in creating opportunities for women and minorities in sports.
Brown doesn't take a backseat to any university in terms of women's athletic programs. In 1994, they had 18 intercollegiate teams. There wasn't but one university in America that had more women's teams. The fields were built.
When it comes to women's athletics, when it comes to gender equity in sports, you are not going to find a college in the country that is better than Brown.
In fact, in the early 1970s, very few colleges rivaled Brown for fielding competitive women's teams.
In the early days of the women's ice hockey, where Brown had a team no one else did, they had to go up to Canada to find a game.
We started Crew Ivy competition in '74. We did basketball in '75. We did ice hockey in '76. In '77, we did track and field, volleyball, swimming and diving, and gymnastics. These were varsity teams.
Well, certainly in the 70s, Brown was out in front of creating opportunities. I think as we moved into the 80s, we had a lot more success in women's athletics than in men's athletics.
I wanted to go to Brown. The university, the campus, the student body, the gymnastics team. It was the best academics mixed with the best athletic experience I could possibly find.
There's a lot of strong young ladies who attend Brown. Believe me, you don't want to do something to hurt them because they're going to come right back and defend themselves. And they don't just think about themselves. They think about the bigger picture. And I think that's really what Brown's about. They do want change. They want to have an impact on this world.
Growing up, I definitely noticed gender inequality, starting in 2nd grade, I think, when we had to do the presidential physical fitness tests. The girls did the flexed arm hang and the boys did pull-ups, and I wanted to do pull-ups because I knew I could beat all the boys, and my gym teacher said, no, 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 pull-ups are for boys, flexed arm hang is for girls, you can only do the flexed arm hang. And that was the beginning, but, you know, it went on from there.
I remember when I first wanted to start soccer, there wasn't an all-girls team young enough. I was like 5 years old, so my dad decided to put me on a boys team, and he coached it, and so there's 2 girls and the rest were boys, and I don't think anyone really noticed I was a girl. My hair was cut short and kind of looked like a little boy, and there was really no difference between us then.
My mother was a pioneer for women's equality, starting from when she went to attend MIT and get her degree in electrical engineering. She was one of 8 women at the university at the time. So she had always encouraged me and my sisters to fight for our rights, to demand equality.
I think equality is important overall, whether it's gender, whether it's race, whether it's economics. And so I always felt like I could make a difference.
As history would play out, Amy Cohen and the women of Brown would make a difference, though it would take years for the final chapter to be written.
Gymnastics was a huge part of my life for my entire childhood. I wore leotards to school in 3rd grade, you know, just waiting for gymnastics practice.
There's a lot about being on a team that just helps you kind of have a place. You fit in, you know what you're kind of good at, gives you a sense of really belonging and of being important.
It just taught me to set goals. It taught me how to keep trying, how not to give up when things were difficult.
It was love at first flip, essentially. It was really a well-formed community, and I felt a part of the team at the beginning from the moment, you know, we walked onto the gym floors.
Gymnastics for me was how I defined myself. I was always known as Lisa the gymnast.
It's a love. You know, if you're lucky enough to find a sport that you love, you know, I like to watch it, I like to do it.
In the spring of 1991, Brown cut the funding for women's volleyball and gymnastics and men's water polo and golf.
I was a senior in high school in Arizona. Here I am, 16 years old, thinking, oh my gosh, I had just decided the next 4 years of my life, and gymnastics was a key component of that. And if I would have known that this school wasn't going to have a gymnastics team, there's no way I would have joined.
We learned of the downgrading of our team status through the school newspaper. In that, it just mentioned that these 4 sports had been downgraded. It was kind of right at the end of the year when people were leaving, and we were shocked because it was kind of like, here's the news, have a nice summer.
It was April of '91, and there was a letter from Dave Roach, the head of the athletic department, basically communicating to the incoming class of water polo players that water polo was no longer going to be funded.
When the students returned, a meeting was held with athletic director Dave Roach.
Okay, 2 men's teams, 2 women's teams are being cut. We just wanted to play, so we wanted to talk to the university about how we would maintain a team going forward.
We came up with everything we could to think of how could we solve this budget problem and not lose these 4 teams. But ultimately, the athletic director really wasn't interested in going that route. He said, this is my decision, these teams will be eliminated.
Well, you know, we had our suspicions all along that the athletic director, Dave Roach, had his sights set on reducing some of these, you know, what he thought non-essential sports.
I'm more sympathetic to the role that the athletics director faced because he had a relatively short time to analyze his department and his programs and determine which of those would be sacrificed. And everybody was going to have to make cuts, every department. No one was to be spared.